Imagine you're stuck inside for 7 days straight. No phone, no lights, no dry firewood, just cold, wet darkness pressing in from every direction, and a fire that keeps threatening to die out. Now imagine you have nothing modern to help you. No raincoat, no waterproof roof, no heater, just your bare hands, some animal skins, and whatever your ancestors figured out thousands of years before you were born. Here's the wild part. This wasn't a nightmare. This was just Tuesday. For ancient humans living tens of thousands of years ago, week-long rainstorms weren't rare disasters. They were a regular part of life. And how they survived those soggy, freezing stretches is way stranger and smarter than you'd ever guess. Stay till the end, because the last part of this story will completely change how you think about ancient humans and what roughing it actually means. So let's set the scene. You're a hunter-gatherer somewhere in prehistoric Europe or Asia, maybe 40,000 years ago. The sky turns gray, then it stays gray. Rain starts falling, and it doesn't stop. Not for one day, not for two. It just keeps coming, day after day, turning the ground into thick mud and turning every hunting trail into a swamp. Here's the first shocking truth. Ancient humans couldn't just wait out the rain the way we do today, scrolling on our phones under a blanket. Rain meant real danger. Wet clothing in cold weather can lower body temperature fast, and hypothermia was one of the sneakiest killers of the ancient world. So the very first thing they had to solve immediately was staying dry. Not comfortable, not cozy, just dry enough to not die. And this is where things get clever. Ancient humans didn't have tents from a store. They built what we'd now call weather shelters using whatever the land gave them. Caves were the ultimate luxury. Dry, protected, and already had a roof. But not everyone lived near a cave. So many groups built lean-to shelters from branches, bark, and animal hides, angled perfectly so rain would slide right off instead of soaking through. Now picture this. You're huddled inside one of these shelters, listening to rain hammering the hide walls. Outside, lightning flashes, thunder rolls, and inside there's a tiny fire, somehow still burning. How? This is shocking fact number 2. Ancient humans developed fire-keeping tricks that seem almost impossible. They dig small pits and line them with hot coals, then cover them with ash to keep embers alive for hours, sometimes days, without a single flame showing. It's basically the ancient version of a slow cooker, except this slow cooker was the only thing standing between your family and freezing to death. But here's where the story gets even more intense. Rain didn't just threaten warmth, it threatened food. When storms rolled in for days, hunting became nearly impossible. Animals hid. Trails vanished into mud. Rivers rose and became dangerous to cross. So what did ancient humans eat during a week of nonstop rain? This is the part that blows people's minds. They planned ahead, constantly. Long before the storm even arrived, they were drying meat into something like ancient jerky, smoking fish over fires, and storing nuts, seeds, and dried berries in pits lined with leaves or bark. Basically, they built pantries. Thousands of years before refrigerators existed, ancient humans had already figured out food preservation, because a week of bad weather could mean the difference between survival and starvation. Now let's slow down and really feel this moment. You're sitting inside a smoky, cramped shelter. Rain is pounding above your head nonstop. Everyone around you is doing something. Someone's weaving plant fibers into cord. Someone's shaping a stone tool. Someone's mending a torn hide with a bone needle. This wasn't wasted time. Ancient humans used rainy days as tool-making days, the ancient equivalent of catching up on chores you never have time for. Bad weather forced creativity, and honestly, some of the smartest tool designs in prehistory were probably invented during miserable, rainy weeks like this one. But here's shocking fact number 3, and it's the one most people never think about: boredom. You'd think survival was the only concern, but being trapped for days with nothing to do created a very human problem: restlessness. And ancient humans solved it in a way that feels shockingly familiar. They told stories. Around the fire, in the dim orange light, elders passed down myths, warnings about dangerous animals, memories of migrations, and lessons about surviving hard times. This wasn't just entertainment, it was how knowledge survived generations, long before writing existed. A week of rain wasn't just a survival test, it was basically an ancient library session using memory and voice instead of books. Now, here's where things intensify. What happens when the rain doesn't stop after a week? What happens when rivers flood, shelters start leaking, and food stores run low? This is when ancient humans made one of their boldest moves. They'd relocate. If a storm threatened to flood their camp, they wouldn't panic and freeze in place. They'd move, sometimes at night, sometimes through mud and rushing water, carrying children, tools, and food to higher, safer ground. This wasn't rare bravery, this was just what you did when your life depended on reading the weather and reacting fast. And this leads us to the biggest, most jaw-dropping truth of the entire story, the one I promised would change how you see ancient humans. They weren't just surviving the rain, they were adapting faster than almost any other species on Earth. While animals could only hide, wait, or die, ancient humans built shelters, preserved food in advance, created heat retention systems, passed down survival knowledge through storytelling, and physically relocated when nature demanded it. In other words, a week of nonstop rain wasn't just a hardship. It was a test that shaped human intelligence itself. Every flooded camp, every freezing night, every food shortage pushed ancient humans to think ahead, plan better, and cooperate more closely as a group. The rain didn't just threaten survival, it quietly built the foundation of human problem solving. So next time you're annoyed because it's raining and your phone won't charge, or your plans got canceled, remember this. Somewhere, 40,000 years ago, a group of humans just like you sat huddled under animal skins, keeping a fire alive with nothing but ash and patience, rationing dried meat, weaving tools by hand, and telling stories to survive both the storm outside and the boredom inside. And they didn't just make it through, they came out smarter, more connected, and better prepared for the next storm. Because that's the real secret hidden inside this story. Human beings have never just survived hard moments. We've always turned them into lessons, tools, and stories that carry us forward. And in a strange way, every single one of us alive today is proof that it worked.